Good morning, everybody. You are watching the Couples Academy show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Danielle Pettiford.
And I'm Hassani Pettiford.
And we're really excited about this topic. We're continuing as we discover how we should identify as a couple. And today we're talking about the role of shared values in a marriage. And I think that even though that sounds like a fundamental basic thing, because we're at the top of the year, it's 2025, I think it's okay to revisit our roles, our responsibilities, and our values, because they do shift throughout the year. Don't you think
You
so?
have to do this because,
You
listen,
have to.
even when we think about Nehemiah, when he was building the wall, right, we know that he had to remind the people of the vision. They had to know the why behind the what, because if you forget the why, then you get lost in the everyday just things that...
The winds, the waves,
right, it's
the,
just,
ups and downs, the ebbing and the flowing.
You need to be empowered.
And then there's personality differences where we struggle in between. And so sometimes we begin to shift our perspective and our values based on where we're at in our relationship. Like sometimes we divorce values in our marriage because I just am sick of him and I don't agree with you and I don't agree with this and I never did and I only agreed because you strong-armed me, or maybe it was I've changed. I don't think like this anymore. I think like that. So we divorce ourselves from values within our marriage so often, and we didn't even know that we did that. So once a year at the minimum, we need to reconvene and begin to discuss, okay, what does this mean? What does unity and oneness mean to us? But before we get into the topic, I want to make sure that I remind you to like, share, and subscribe. You don't want to miss our show. And make sure that you're sharing this with other married couples who believe in kingdom marriage and doing it right, doing it the way God designed, okay? That's what we're here to represent. And if that's for you, and if you have friends and family that is for them, make sure that you share the message with them. Other thing is, guys, we have a last chance weekend. It's every single month. One's coming up January 10th through the 12th. It's still not too late. If you are at the end of the road in your relationship, if you are even thinking about throwing in the towel and calling it quits, time out. You need to give it one last chance. You haven't been to the last chance weekend where we specialize in restoring and recovering relationships.
We're going to be intentional this year to make sure that we give you more testimonials. We were doing that a lot. Video testimonials of the couples who just came out of that experience. And you could literally see the shift, the change, the transition. Well, we could see it because we knew who they were when they came in and how they were when they left out.
Oh, man, the way they come in.
Oh, my God. Danielle, like real talk, you talk about enemies, you talk about World War III scenarios, and they come out.
If I couldn't read the room, I would retreat.
Oh my gosh. And then they come out in alignment. They come out with hope and inspiration. And so maybe for you it was a betrayal. Maybe there was no sexual or emotional betrayal, but there's other things. Listen, couples are in crisis for a number of things beyond infidelity. And oftentimes those are the things that breaks it. In fact, what I would say is overwhelmingly, most people don't divorce because of infidelity. Most people stay, interestingly enough. It's the other things that are compounded on top of that really becomes a crushing blow to that relationship. So make sure you go to the website or go to the video description, click on the link. But Danielle, you have something coming up. We got to talk about it.
Oh, yes. We have our upcoming Find Your Spark webinar, y'all. Ladies, wives, you don't want to miss this because oftentimes we just kick the can down the road. We're waiting for the perfect time when we're going to do the thing that we are so passionate about and that we desire to do. But unfortunately, oftentimes that time never comes. We are waiting to raise our children. We are waiting until our husband has done something. We are waiting and waiting and waiting. And what I'm saying is that there are gifts lying dormant inside you, and it is time to unearth them, and it is time for you to put yourself out into the world the way God designed you to be. You know what those gifts are, so don't miss it. The webinar is coming up. It's on February 1st. Register, put that back up so they can scan that. You can go ahead and register by scanning this QR code here. He's getting it back up.
There's no QR code.
There's no QR code. No. Okay, that's okay. You could go to Coach. You could go to DannyPettiford.com and you can actually register there.
All right, guys, let's dive into today's topic. It's long awaited. We're talking about being stronger together, the role of shared values in your marriage. Listen, we can be together, but we can be weak together, or we could be strong together.
I want to be strong
I want to
together.
be strong. I want to be strong. Now,
Yes.
just as a quick recap, we talked about this whole concept of we, this we-ness concept. So let's go back to the definition really quickly. We-ness is the sense of unity, connection, and a shared identity that a couple develops when they prioritize the collective we over the individual me.
You should write that down.
It reflects a mindset and behavior where partners see themselves as a cohesive team working together toward common goals while maintaining mutual respect for their individuality.
Now, don't feel bad if you're sitting here thinking we have zero weeness. It is meanness.
Did you say weeness?
I did say weeness.
Not a weeness.
Nope.
Okay,
I wouldn't talk about
weeness.
weenesses.
Okay.
But we have zero weeness. It's all about meanness.
I'm glad you said that. I couldn't say that.
Because it is something, it's almost like weaving the threads of a basket together, right? It takes time and it takes meticulous behaviors to actually weave together your oneness into we-ness, because you've spent your whole life identifying with yourself and your oneness. Think about that. You come into the world needing and taking. You don't come into the world giving and sharing. You have to be taught those principles. And if you were in a family that created a great environment for that, you were lucky. If you had siblings, especially if you were broke and had siblings, or you learned we-ness, you learned sharing, you learned it all. But then there's some of us that were not raised in those environments. We did not learn we-ness. We maybe were an only child, or we just never learned how to share and connect. And so we grow up with this me, myself, and I mentality. What am I going to do? Then you get married and you think you're going to be me, myself, and I with another me, myself, and I. So it takes time for us to actually become one and recognize that it's actually beneficial for the both of us. Where two or more gather together, God is in the midst of them. So we are so much stronger together as a team. It just takes time to do that. And one thing that I think couples don't notice and don't identify with right away is the brokenness that takes place in we-ness, right? Because you have an entire oneness construct built, like a whole foundation laid with concrete cement, and you've got a strong tower of single-mindedness. And then when you come and you get married to someone, you are now told that you need to become one with somebody. You can't. You have to break down what was to build something new. And in the midst of that, you're building something together. You're still maintaining you, but you're bringing your amazing oneness together with their amazing oneness to create we-ness, and it is a strong, dominant tower.
Now, I want to piggyback on what you said, because there has to be a breaking away, as she said. There has to be a death of the oneness mindset, not the death of who you are as an individual. Because as we were
Absolutely
talking
not.
yesterday, there's these three types of relationships, and I'm pulling back up. But let's focus on the third one, the bottom one. Well, the top left one, remember, you get married and you get lost in your spouse, so you lose your identity. The second one to the right, top right, is you two are operating in your own individuality. There's no collaborative effort, no cohesion, no alignment. But the third one is you understand your brilliance, you bring it to the relationship, and it contributes to the collective whole. So this is the us and the we-ness. So what has to die is the individualistic mindset that you have,
Right.
in order for this we-ness concept to be birthed. It kind of reminds me, Danielle, of a seed. Now, I've been studying in my personal devotional time about the power of gardening. We're talking about the Garden of Eden and all the things that took place. Now, when a seed is deposited into soil, there's a germination process that takes place. And in order for any plant to be born, the seed has to cease to exist. It cannot exist anymore. So when a seed is planted in the soil, it absorbs all of the water from the soil, so much so that the seed seed bursts, like the shell actually cracks and it dies in order for the plant to come out. So there has to be a death. There has to be a breaking away. And likewise, this mindset has been the destruction of so many marriages, because whether married 5, 10, 20 years, so many people are operating independent of their spouse, and there's no interdependence where they operate as one.
And I think it's threatening, because even listening to you say that, I can hear people thinking, well, I gotta be me. Like, I'm not gonna lose myself to no man or woman, but I speak for the females, right? But it's not about sameness. See, that would create a weak foundation. If we were both the same, we would be missing some major elements in our oneness.
Right.
No, it's not about sameness. It's about me bringing all of me and what I have to bring to the table, him bringing all of him to the table, so that we could build something together. That doesn't mean it absolves you, takes away from you. There's no diminishing you. That doesn't mean you have to let go of all the things that you love. No, it means that you're coming together collectively to create something stronger and better. Otherwise, why are you here?
Right.
I mean, like, I could do good. I could do good all by myself. I could do bad all by myself. So if we're not collaborating to create something stronger, bigger, better, what are we doing? You can't even come, you're creating a child, to me, is a representation of the two coming together to create something stronger and better, because now there is legacy that goes on after you, right? You can't do that in singleness and single-mindedness. You have to come together with somebody. So how God does one thing is how you'll see he does a lot of things the same, and you can see how he plans for things to go and his method in his nature and in the processes that he's created, like the seed dying. In order for something new to burst from that seed, for you to actually have a harvest. See, you can have the seed. I mean, a lot of us love eating, what do you call those things that you chew the seeds? Sunflower seeds.
Oh, I thought you were going to say.
Oh, my God.
Okay, yeah.
I got some friends that love the sunflower seeds. I will buy them their favorite flavors, because something about chewing and popping and spitting and chewing, they love it, okay? But guess what? The seed died where? In your esophagus. It was tasty. You enjoyed it. It was wonderful going down, but that's it. It ends there with you in your one single-minded experience. But take that same seed and plant it in the ground and let it die, and from it bursts an entire harvest.
Yeah.
This is powerful evidence as to why it is important for you to make a shift in your relationship. I mean, this is something that you have to intentionally shift, because there are a lot of mental constructs out there that are saying, nope, it works for me. You do you, I'll do me. We go half on this, we go half on that. But you're never going to be able to build something bigger than yourself by yourself.
See, you can't build something bigger than yourself by yourself. And so if you had a bunch of people on your team and there wasn't a clear vision, a clear mission, you didn't clearly identify what roles each person played, what skill sets they had to perform at a high level to get the thing done, you have chaos and you have a failed attempt to do something that could have been great. And so likewise with a marriage, which is a team, you have to have a shared vision and an alignment about what it is you're trying to accomplish. Listen, we like Starbucks. You walk into a Starbucks, right? How do you differentiate a customer from an employee? Just visually, how do you differentiate the two?
They're behind the counter.
Number one.
They have a process. There's somebody who's on the barista machine. There's somebody who's heating up pastries and egg bites, my favorite. There's somebody who is putting the drinks at the pickup line. Clearly, we're there too much. And my daughter used to work there, so I know. Everybody
and they all have a uniform, right?
And they all have a uniform, and everybody works their station in a cohesive manner, because nobody knows this, but there's a clock. There's a clock that they're on. And so when it comes to getting people in and out of the door, they need, and I forget what it is, but it's something crazy, like 6 seconds or something like that. You need to be taking orders and moving people through the whole process. It's a process because it's a team. So imagine if it was just one team member working all those positions, the team of me.
I can imagine that because I've done that. I've seen that where there was one person behind, I'm going through the drive-through, there's one person on the other side of that window doing everything, and it took like 15 minutes to get a drink. If there was a team in place, I would have got that thing before I pulled up. But by the time you pull up to the window, they're handing it to you because they have a system that works. And when you're operating alone, you're doing so much more work. There's so much more effort. It takes you so much longer. Most people quit in the process because we were not designed to function on our own.
Imagine this. Last analogy just came to my mind. You're on a football field, right? And you just say, nope, y'all are wrong. Couples Academy, log out. You're wrong. Because you can do things. Team me. Imagine you were up against an entire football team, and it's just the team of you on the other side.
No, you're in trouble.
Okay?
You're in trouble.
The team is called Team Oneness. And you try to get that ball from one side of the field to the other.
No, sir.
Epic fail.
Epic. So it takes the power of a team. There's no I in the word team, right? It takes the power of a collective, unified group of people to get something done. Now, when you have a team, okay, the team of we, right? There's got to be values. That's what we're talking about today, right? A value-based marriage. Now, values are determined by you as a couple. What one couple values is different what another couple values. And so we were just talking about this morning, a continuation of a conversation that we have about our shared values and the importance of what you said in the beginning of having the conversation again is to make sure that you are in alignment, it's prioritized, it's in the forefront of your mind, so it impacts how you move throughout the course of that year. So some of the shared values that we have, Danielle, we talked about. Number one, faith. Faith is a value for us. All of you would know that because if you tune into the show long enough, you could hear it coming out of our mouths, how important God is, this kingdom marriage, how we live our life, and making him the helm, making him the core, the crux, and the foundation of our lives. So faith is critically important. We also talk about family, right? The importance of family. How about fun? How about fitness? How about finances? How about being fruitful as a couple? So values are critically, all the F's, F words, right?
Good F words.
There you go. It's valuable to have values because it does a number of things for you. I want you to imagine, now we've given all these analogies. One of the things that values does, it gets you both on the same page, right? So it means that think about a compass. A compass is a guiding force, right? It allows you to determine which direction you're going in. And your values help you make decisions that determine the course that you take. If you have a different internal moral compass than I have, and this is what we're experiencing with a lot of couples, they're going in different directions. Mm-hmm. They're not on the same page. And oftentimes they could create conflict in the relationship because they don't see things the same way. They don't believe the same things. So these shared values are significantly important. Now, another thing I want you to consider, what if you and your partner have the same shared values, but they are not in the same priority? So going back to the example, we have fun as a value, but we have family as a value. Now, when it comes to fun, the way I internalize it is, I like playing golf. That's fun for me. But family as a value means that we're experiencing a shared moment as a family. But fun will have me on a golf course for 8 hours in the day as opposed to spending quality time with my family. So because my personal value is prioritized in a different order than my wife, do you see how it can cause conflict in a relationship?
Absolutely. And it's important for us to recognize that because these are the things that we don't talk about, right? We think it's nothing wrong with us having hobbies and certain habits that serve us that we enjoy. I said habits because, I know a lot of people like to play video games. A lot of men like to play video games, and that oftentimes drives wives crazy, okay? But there's a time and space for everything, and that alignment can come in conversations where we're literally making space for all the things that matter to everyone. But that's where the alignment comes in. It's not about, okay, well, you're doing that, and that's not okay, and that's not oneness, and we have to do the same thing at the same time on the same day all the time. eat, sleep, drink each other. Absolutely not. That would make you the same as them. God honors your individuality in so many regards to how he operates with you. For example, I'm the type of person where in the morning when I wake up, that's when I get my morning dew. God talks to me in the morning. I don't talk in the morning. I'm very quiet. He's very different. He gets to talking. He got video playing, audio playing. He listens to audiobooks. He's different. He's built different. It would be crazy for me to feel like, okay, in the morning, you need to be silent for 30 minutes because I'm silent for 30 minutes. That's not oneness and that's not sameness. So we really need to just be willing to come to the same table and discuss things so that we can begin to develop our cohesive identity as a couple so that we're doing things that serves the collectives and moves us forward towards our goal.
I think that's so true, because the cohesion, I want you to think about this. A husband and wife are a team, right? Some would say that they are the CEO and the COO or CFO of a company, the company called your marriage. But think about it from this perspective. What if you had two co-pilots who are on a plane and they're not in alignment? Now, they've got all these souls on board. They're responsible for safe takeoff, safe flight, and safe landing, but they don't get along. They don't think alike. They don't work as one. There's so many missteps that could happen in that process.
Right.
And obviously we know that the worst of it all would be that the plane would crash and everyone would die. And so what happens is when you and your spouse are not on the same page and you have other souls who are relying on you, like these little ones, right? Your children, or maybe there's extended family members, or maybe there's a community. I mean, think about it from that perspective. How many leaders in the community, whether they're political leaders, spiritual leaders, corporate leaders, when the relationship goes awry, it impacts other people who are looking up at them as an example. So you're not just living your life for you, you're living like your life for others. Now, you're not doing it for that sole purpose. The sole purpose is to make sure that you're one and you're in alignment with God. But what you do impacts other people. So this level of alignment is critically important because your future depends upon it. Does that make sense?
And also, yes, and also just the feeling inside of a relationship where there is that cohesiveness, you know, like this is an environment that you're creating too. So it's essentially, it is eliminating blind spots. Right? Nobody wants to be like, I know this about my spouse, but I have no clue or no idea about that about my spouse, because it's just a closed off area, because that's my me, myself, and I area, right? Like I know countless couples, for example, who they are forbidden to look in each other's phones. And I don't investigate your phone, no need to, but if I wanted to get on your phone, it's almost like it's our phone. I could look at your phone. He could go in my purse. He could pick up my phone and get on my laptop. There's no area that is closed off to me. Now, do I need to be in all the areas? Let's go there, because you had mentioned golfing, for example, right? And so, you know, that's a space, whatever the hobby is. I could join you in the golfing if I wanted to, but I don't. Right? So there are spaces and places that you have all your own and to yourself. But at the same time, there are no blind spots in oneness. I know exactly where we're going. Going back to the flight analogy, there's no confusion in the direction of where we're going. We're on the same flight, same ticket, same number, and I know exactly the destination because we've created a oneness mindset where we're on the same page and we're heading in the same direction. And there's a peace and a closeness and an intimacy that develops inside of a relationship where there is oneness. And I think that's a big thing to say, because we're talking about how, you know, our relationship is bigger than us. You know, there are other people relying on us, hoping that we make it, all these things, whatever the case may be. But then there's also how you want to feel inside your relationship, close to the person that is closest to you, not furthest from the person that is closest to you. Some folks listening to this podcast are closer to their BFF than they are to their spouse.
Facts.
They could tell you everything about her plans, where her trajectory is for the year. You know, they done did the vision board together. They know everything about their BFF, but they know minimal about their spouse, and that could be problematic in the long run.
Well, number one, it tells me that your relationship is not based upon friendship. Like, the foundation of your marriage, of your unity, should be a friendship at the end of the day. Yes, we're lovers. Yes, we're parents. Yes, we pay bills together. We go on vacations. We do the thing. We live life. But are you truly friends? Like, so many spouses love each other, but they don't like each other. And if there were time spent to do whatever they wanted to do, to your point, they'd rather be with a BFF. They'd rather be off enjoying life because
there's a closeness.
You know how many people hate coming home?
Oh my gosh.
They hate coming. Matter of fact, there are people who I know people who will sit in the parking lot or sit in the driveway of their home for an hour.
I used to do that.
Now the truth comes out. I remember that. I would look out the window. I'm like, why is she still in the car? Like, what was that about? What was that about?
All the ladies. I feel like sicking. Help me out if you hear me, okay?
No. It's just me and you on this podcast.
Let me tell you something. There are, because of the role of a wife. See, we're not on the wife podcast, but because of the role of a wife, oftentimes women will sit in the car to gain some sense of peace, to get their mind together, to prepare to take one hat off and put the next hat on, right? Because she might be coming home from work, or she might have just spent an hour at Costco fighting the carts to get a whole load of groceries, and she's exhausted. And so she's like, let me take a moment and sit in this car and drift off for a minute, or just pray, or just get my mind together. So that's why a lot of women will sit in the car, because Hassani would catch me out there and he would be like, you're home? And I'm like, yeah, I'm home. I'll be in a minute. And I'm just trying to get my mind together. But there are other people that might be doing other things. Maybe they have secret lives. Maybe they are messaging a friend that it has not been disclosed. There are many reasons why people do that. But to your point about people hating coming home, yeah, because what are we going to talk about? I talk to so many wives that will tell me, we don't even really talk. And I'm like, explain that to me. What do you mean? Literally. What do you mean that you don't even talk? Like, you don't say hello yet? We'll say hello sometimes. Okay, so help me understand. You wake up in the same bed every morning? Yeah. And there's nobody talking? No. So what happens? Well, he gets up and he's got his routine, and he's in the shower, and then he goes and gets his breakfast, and we don't talk.
Danielle, there are couples who we counsel who will text me and ask me to text their spouse the question that they could have asked because they're sitting right next to the spouse on the couch, but they're so disconnected, they don't talk.
Exactly.
So not only do they not talk in the session, because I'm having one individual conversations, but outside of the session, they don't do their work day, they don't do their play day, they don't talk about basic fundamental things, and this is a part of the problem.
Yeah, because maybe there's no safety there, or no, what it is there's a lack of intimacy. After a while, when you've operated in oneness for so long, you start building an entire life and world apart from your spouse. You live together, and now you're literally just roommates, splitting bills, splitting responsibilities, and you're living two separate lives. And so that's why it's hard to come together. This is why people also struggle to look each other in the eyes and to actually hold hands, because it's been so long since they've held hands. Sometimes they'll come to the Last Chance weekend or one of our private intensives, and we'll make them touch. Like, I haven't seen you touch your spouse this entire time. Touch their hand, and they're like,
that's a fact.
It's
no,
like,
this is a fact.
You know what I'm saying? It's like they got frozen shoulder all of a sudden. Like, all of a sudden,
stiff neck, frozen shoulder.
They didn't notice that we noticed.
My neck, my back, my neck and my back.
Right. They didn't notice that we noticed. And one person is usually more open to it than the other, but is terrified to do it without permission. Yeah. It's just like,
yes.
So this is what happens when you start building a life apart from your spouse and you're operating in oneness for too long. There is no we-ness, there is no single-mindedness, and it really is a destruction to the ultimate purpose of your marriage.
So let me just say this, because we may be talking about you. Maybe you're split. Maybe you're completely divided. You're living in the same home, but you don't like each other. You don't talk to each other. You don't do life together. You work different shifts. You're coming and going like two passing ships in the middle of the night. This is your reality. How do you get back into alignment? Well, it first starts with determining what a shared value should be in your marriage. So let's just say, for instance, you don't trust each other at all, but you both value trust. Well, first you have to have an agreed upon idea that trust is important. Matter of fact, in our Moving Forward program just last night, we were telling the couples, listen, create goals. Even if you don't believe that you can accomplish the goal, it's okay. Your belief is not required to create a goal. All you need to do is first create the goal. If you think the goal is impossible, if you think you can never accomplish it, I don't care what you think. That's irrelevant, because what you think today has no value in terms of what you may think a month from now, right? Because the goal is not about obtaining alone, it's about growing. It's not just about getting, it's about growing. So who I am and where we are in this relationship today, there's no possible way that this will ever be accomplished. But as we go on our journey, we're becoming. And as we become, the possibility of the fulfillment of that goal can be manifested in our lives. Likewise with a shared value. So if there's zero trust in the relationship, but you both value it, at least you can establish it as a value for your marriage. And then I heard somebody once say, most people are committed to their values, which means nothing. Right? You should be committed to your behaviors, because if you're committed to behaviors that align with values, now you're actually doing something on a daily basis that's moving you closer to the fulfillment of the value that you have. So no matter where you may find yourself, you may be in a very good place with your spouse. You may be as far apart as the East is from the West. These are the fundamental things that you have to begin to do to get back on track. Values as the foundation of your marriage will change the trajectory of your relationship. Listen, before we go, I want to acknowledge, because, you know, we used to do this and we want to start doing this as well. We have an international reach. So anytime we have people from different parts of the world who are tuning in, we want to acknowledge them. And I got to acknowledge, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Joachim Kirchner, but he says, thank you so much for your fantastic content. Nothing comparable in good old Germany. Happy New Year. Well, we're so glad that you're connected with us. We want you to spread the word all throughout Germany and all throughout Europe so that we can make an indelible imprint on this world that has never been done before. Listen, guys, you're watching the Couples Academy show. Anything you want to say before we go?
Nope. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow. Tune in. Bring a pad and pen. Bring your spouse. And let's get it. All right, guys.